Oh Hatsume, I don't want anything other than the request I'm making, Ochako said, rubbing the bridge of her nose with her fingers as the oil-covered, pink-haired girl in front of her examined the large pink boots of Ochako's hero costume. I just want you to do the simple modification I'm asking. Such a basic modification to these babies, but I can make it happen. You know this seems heavily inspired by that boyfriend of yours. Hatsume said, looking at the notes Ochako had wrote down on a sheet of paper regarding the upgrades as her fingers slid up and down the side of the boot. That's the goal, Ochako said a bit sourly. She knew Hatsume didn't deserve any harsh feelings, however she also knew that Hatsume wouldn't take any notice of them. Ochako also wasn't very fond of Hatsume with how touchy she could get with Izuku, however that wasn't important at the moment. Where is he anyway? Hatsume said, now carrying the boots to her desk. You never let him come here alone. It's even rarer for you to come by yourself. He's not here, Ochako said quietly, leaning against the wall putting her hands in her pockets. Why? Because you seem sad, and if something happened to him then, Iida would be sad, and he's in here a lot. It would be annoying if he came in here sad all the time. Hatsume said as she took her tools down from a shelf, trying to sound as if it were casual conversation. However, Ochako heard the concern in Hatsume's voice. Was Hatsume worried about Iida? Izuku was kidnapped, Ochako said even quieter than before. Hatsume, who had started sorting through her tools, had slowed for a second. I'm sorry to hear that, Hatsume said, as she turned back to work on the boot. Ochako blinked a few times before turning towards the door. Thank you, please, let me know when those are done, she said as she walked out. Ochako walked down the halls, staring through the morning sun rays that shone through the school building's tall glass walls. The green grass and fields of the schoolyard blew gently in the wind. Ochako stopped walking and stared out for a moment. It all seemed too peaceful, unreal. As Izuku stayed being experimented on wherever he was, she was here. Not by his side, not freeing him. What's the hold up? A rough, slightly angry voice said from behind her. Ochako sighed as she turned to see the angry spiky blonde standing a few feet away from her, his hands in his pockets. Upgrades, Ochako said simply as she turned back towards the window, staring back out into UA's fields and wall. I think they'll help. We're wasting time here. We need to find this bastard watching the school now, Bakugo said, clicking his tongue. The sooner we find whoever that is, the sooner we find Izuku. Yes, I know, Ochako said, a bit of a temple rising in her forehead. Of course her partner would be Bakugo. She may have relatively forgiven him, and they could be considered friends at this point. That didn't make him any less fun to be around. Someone has been watching the school from outside. That's how they knew when to take Monoma. It's just weird. The school has multiple forms of security that keeps it one of the safest places to be. How could someone watch? Ochako wondered. Don't be stupid, Bakugo said roughly, standing next to her looking out the window. It has to be a quirk. No technology could get past the school's defenses against it unless it's at the government level. Speaking of the government, it doesn't help that we are on a time limit, Ochako said. The government had already taken her parents in, and eventually the government would target her and the pro-heroes for subsequently causing the Nomu swarms. If it's a quirk though, Ochako said thoughtfully, bringing her finger to her chin, it has to have some sort of radius. And if said person is keeping tabs on everything going on in the school, then he has to be here constantly as well, and in close proximity. Bakugo finished, catching on to Ochako's thought process. So the fucker is potentially pacing the school, using whatever quirk he needs. He's got a schedule of everyone's daily routine. Everyone except for those who have been gone. Like us, Ochako said suddenly as the realization hit her, her eyes widening. The dullness that had turned Ochako's usually bright eyes into a void vanished as the light returned to them. All Might chose them for more than just their desperate need to save Izuku. They had an advantage. They had a lead to Izuku. If we want to catch him, we need to act now, Ochako said, turning to Bakugo. We've been gone for over a month. We just got here. They haven't gotten our schedule down yet. We're outliers. We need to act before he gets any kind of schedule on us down. If they start recognizing our movements, they'll know when we're coming. Tisk, I came to tell you to hurry up. Why are you turning it on me? Bakugo said angrily. However, Ochako stamped her foot down. Hero costume, on, now. Ochako said, pointing in the direction of the UA dorms. She could visibly see the vein pulse in Bakugo's forehead before he turned heel, heading towards the dorms. However, he stopped for a quick sentence before heading back down the hallway. You put the pieces together and came up with that plan pretty fast. The nerd is influencing you. Ochako watched as Bakugo made his way down the hallway until he was out of sight. She blinked a few times before smiling just a bit. Looks like Izuku was still with her in a way. Ochako shook her head. Now wasn't the time. She turned and ran back towards Hatsume's shop. She needed to get her upgrades. Soon. Izuku looked around. He turned, left, right and then looked behind him. It was endless. The void. The black void with colorful accents. It seemed peaceful, yet fractured. Where was he? Hello. Izuku called out, pulling his arms near his chest. This was nerve-wracking. Something felt off about this place. Wrong. Like it was hurt. Izuku felt like he had a connection with this place. But he hadn't seen this place before. What was going on? Did this have to do with why he was captured by the guy Monoma-kun was talking about? Hey, Izuku called out, tears starting to form in his eyes. I don't have a quirk. Please, let me go. Let Monoma-kun go. This isn't right. At least let Monoma-kun go. He doesn't deserve this. No response. Was he even still in his cell? Suddenly a mist appeared around him, slowly circling him. Was this mist green? Izuku backed up, nervous from what it was. The mist started to form, taking shape of a kid. A teenager. The shadowy figure slowly formed until it had more of a black shadowy substance, the green mist forming green eyes. Why did it look oddly familiar? Suddenly a yellow, more flame-like mist formed next to the blackened one, creating a much thinner, yet taller figure. This one looked older, its hair a bit longer yet, but much brighter than the shorter younger one. He too felt familiar. Both raised their hands, as if reaching for Izuku. Did they want him? Izuku took a step forward. He didn't know who they were, or what they wanted, or even what this place was. But they seemed as if they needed help. Suddenly, Izuku's eyes snapped open, staring at the roof of the cell he was in, gasping for air. His head was pounding even harder than before, his body sweaty, and his nerves tingling. Was that a dream? Was it all just a dream? But it felt so familiar. Like he was there. Those two. The misty people. Who were they? Finally, you're awake. Monoma said, waving his hand, blowing away what seemed to be smoke. Geez, what's up with your quirk? You were sparking green, and is your body giving off this smoke screen stuff? Geez, what's up with you? Monoma asked, coughing a bit. Well, never mind. It's not like you can answer with that amnesia of yours. I'm telling you I don't have a quirk. Izuku said, allowing tears to all again. And that would mean I have 2 quirks, and that's unheard of. Can you stop sniffling for 2 seconds? Monoma said loudly. For the god Sake, are you sure your quirk isn't crying? With how much water squirts from your eyes you would think. Monoma stopped as a female figure appeared on the opposite side of the glass. Izuku stared at the woman, her tall slim figure, her slick red hair with the mechanical-looking glasses, holding a clipboard, with what seemed to be a brand new lab coat on. Why don't you and I have a pleasant chant? Yes. Asagiri asked sweetly. Monoma laughed. Yes, why don't we? Let's have it right here actually. Why don't you let us out of here? Monoma asked almost condescendingly. Asagiri laughed. Who knows? Maybe it'll reach that point. But if you want to talk negotiations, you'd have to come with me. She said sweetly. Monoma however smirked. Like you have any intention of releasing us. Monoma said. Asagiri raised an eyebrow. Actually, on the contrary. I have every intention of releasing you when I'm done. Especially that one. I can't wait to set him loose when I'm finished. Monoma frowned. That didn't make much sense. What did they plan to do to them? This is wrong. You need to let us out. Izuku stuttered out. Asagiri looked towards the crying boy. If I'm the one you want, at least let him go. Why hurt those you don't need? Asagiri blinked before laughing. Wow, so this is how you were before you received one for all. What made you so special? And what was that All Might thinking giving it to someone like you? Granted, you did give Yosuke quite the beating. I guess you have potential. Looks like you've had that will of yours even before the quirk was given to you. But as of now you're pretty worthless. And kind of a loser, so keep quiet would you? Asagiri said sweetly with a pure smile. Izuku's tears fell a bit harder. Her words did not match her facial features. But, wait, what was that part about All Might? What do you mean All Might gave him a power? Monoma asked. He turned towards Izuku. What's one for all? What have you been hiding? I don't know anything. Izuku said, this is getting old really fast. Copy boy, you're coming with me, unless you want to deal with him again. Asagiri pointed to a Nomu that had appeared out from the shadows, the winged beast that had stolen Monoma away. Either come with me or we'll see just how much of a Nomu beating that tearjerker in the corner can take before he realizes he has a quirk. Monoma clicked his tongue. By the time memory loss Midoriya over there figures out he has powers, that Nomu would kill him. Monoma sighed with a smile at Asagiri, his hands raised. Fine, I'll come, but I won't be playing nice. Monoma said. Asagiri smiled her true devilish smile. I was hoping you'd say that.